Have you ever been in a room where someone just walks in and without saying anything, everyone's attention just kind of shifts? They
Hmm.
might not be the richest person there or even the best looking, but they've got this undeniable vibe, right? This
Yeah.
quiet authority that just pulls you in.
Yeah, it's like they carry their own magnetic field or something. You sort of feel their energy before you really even register them.
Right.
It's subtle, but it's definitely powerful.
Totally. And well, it makes you wonder, where does that kind of confidence actually come from? Is it just like an inherent gift, something you're born with?
Or is it something else? Something maybe we can learn.
Exactly. Is it something we can cultivate?
And that's the big question, isn't it? And that's really what our deep dive is all about today. We're going to try and peel back the layers on that exact mystery.
We're diving into the real nature of confidence, and we're drawing on some pretty provocative ideas from this book, The Unsake Self, Forging Confidence Under Pressure.
Yeah, it's got some strong takes. Our mission today really is to cut through some of the usual noise around confidence, unpack what this book's saying at its core, and maybe reveal how confidence is actually forged.
Because, spoiler alert, it's probably not what most people think it is.
Right.
So we're hoping to give you a bit of a shortcut here to understanding why confidence isn't just a mood you wait for, and maybe more importantly, how you can actually start building it yourself.
And what's really interesting right off the bat is how this book just tackles the biggest misconception head on.
Which is?
Well, it states really clearly, like explicitly, that confidence is not a feeling. It's not a mood you just hope arrives.
Okay, so if it's not a feeling, what is it then?
It's presented as a psychological strategy, a deliberate one.
A strategy. Okay, that's a different way of looking at it, isn't it? It really shifts things.
It does. And the book makes this pretty bold claim that, confident people aren't necessarily the smartest or the most skilled. They act like they are. For long enough that the world starts to buy it, and maybe even more importantly,
They start to buy it themselves.
exactly, they convince themselves to. It's almost like this self-fulfilling performance.
Okay, but is this just like positive thinking again? Or is there more to it?
No, it goes deeper. The book actually digs into the science here, and it explains this, honestly, kind of surprising principle. Behavior comes before belief.
Well, hang on. Behavior before belief. That feels backward, right?
It does. It flips our usual intuition completely. We're often told, feel good, then you'll act good. Or feel confident, then do the thing.
Yeah.
But this book argues that's actually a trap. Waiting for the feeling. That's the mistake. Real change, it argues, starts with the action, even if you're, shaking inside while you do it.
So if we act confident even when we feel the opposite, what's actually happening in our heads? This is like,
Right.
Are we tricking our own brains?
You could almost say that. The book calls it literal brain hacking. It points out this chemical link confidence is tied to stuff like dopamine and serotonin.
Right, the feel-good chemicals.
Exactly. So when you behave confidently, your brain starts releasing those chemicals, it activates reward pathways, and you get this positive feedback loop going. The action starts to build the belief.
That's actually incredible.
Correct.
So the behavior can literally change your brain chemistry to support the feeling you started by faking.
That's the idea. And it raises the question, how fast can this actually work?
Yeah.
Well, the book shares this pretty mind-blowing experiment. They had students give public talks, right?
Okay.
And half of them, they just gave them this little card beforehand that said something simple like, you are the expert, act like it.
Okay, just that. Act like the expert.
Just that. And the results, apparently they were really striking. Those students, even though they didn't suddenly know more,
Yeah.
they stood taller, they spoke more boldly, they actually sounded smarter. It's like their brains, just from that prompt and their own resulting actions, started to generate the very confidence they were just simulating. It shows how much our internal state can follow our external lead.
So it wasn't about actually being the expert. It was the acting that kicked things off.
Precisely. The behavior initiated the belief.
That leads nicely into another idea from the book, doesn't it? This idea that confidence isn't just a one-time trick.
Right. It's something you build, like a habit or even a muscle. The book uses this analogy of like a video game.
Okay, how does that work?
Well, think about it. Every time you face a challenge in the game or, in life, and you back down.
You're kind of teaching your brain it's okay to be scared, reinforcing the fear.
Exactly. You train that fear pathway. But on the other hand, every single time you decide to step up.
Even if you mess up, even if you totally bomb.
Yes. Even if you flop spectacularly, you're still, in a way, leveling up. You're exercising that confidence muscle, building resilience.
And the book makes a point about real life versus games, right?
Yeah, a crucial one. In life, unlike a game, there's no restart button. Every choice, every time you step up or step back, it actually counts. It shapes that habit.
That ties into another phrase from the book that really stuck with me. This idea of being a professional self-doubter.
Oh, that one hits home for a lot of people, I think. It's a really powerful reframe. It suggests maybe you're not inherently a failure.
Right.
Maybe you've just gotten really, really good at doubting yourself. It shifts it from being about your capability to being about a learned pattern.
A pattern you can potentially unlearn.
That's the hope. And it clarifies what confidence really is. It's not about being certain you'll succeed.
That's knowing you might not succeed.
Exactly. Knowing you might fail and deciding to do it anyway, that distinction feels liberating somehow.
It really does. Which brings us to the flip side. The cost of not doing it. The cost of those self-limiting beliefs.
Yeah, the book delivers a pretty stark wake-up call on this. It really pushes you, the listener, to think, how many times have you said no to something?
Or just avoided a path altogether.
Because of that little voice, that lie you told yourself. Oh, I'm not the kind of person who can do that.
Or maybe even quietly murdered a dream, as the book puts it, because of some belief you picked up years ago.
It really doesn't pull punches there. It basically says you've probably lied to yourself more and more damagingly than anyone else ever could.
Oof, that's strong.
It is. But there's also a bit of comic relief around this point, too. There's this funny story
Oh, yeah.
about this guy who told the author his confidence was completely shattered back in, like, 3rd grade.
3rd grade. By what?
Apparently, some kid told him his voice sounded funny, and that just stuck with him, ruined his confidence for years.
Wow. Just from a kid's comment.
Right, and the author's reply in the book is hilarious, but also really pointed. Something like, well, at least you didn't say your face is offensive.
Huh. Okay, yeah, that puts it in perspective.
But seriously, it makes you think, doesn't it? How many of us let some random, maybe trivial comment from the past dictate how we see ourselves now? It sounds ridiculous when you say it like that.
But it happens all the time. So, okay, if we recognize this, how do we actually start to, like, unfake our confidence, as the book title suggests? How do we build the real thing?
Well, our source boils it down to a few key takeaways. First, that classic phrase, but with a twist. Fake it till you become it.
Become it, not just make it.
Yeah.
That emphasis is important.
Huge difference. It's about internalizing the change, not just putting on a show forever. It's about transformation.
Okay, what else?
Second, face fear like you're taking a cold shower.
Cold shower. Meaning?
Meaning just jump in. Don't stand there overthinking it, analyzing it, letting the dread build up.
So in practice, that means, like, sending the email you're avoiding right now.
Yeah.
Or saying yes to the presentation before you talk yourself out of it.
Exactly that. It's about closing the gap between impulse and action, not letting self-doubt wedge itself in there. Small actions, big actions. Just act before the internal debate paralyzes you.
Okay. Jump in. Got it. And the third thing.
Confidence isn't necessarily about being the smartest or best person in the room. It's more about acting like you belong there.
Ah, like that person we talked about at the start, the one with the presence.
Yeah. They probably just operate from a place of course I belong here. That belief, acted upon, creates its own reality.
Okay, so those are some powerful ideas. Now, let's be fair, looking at the source material itself,
Yeah.
it definitely hits hard, as you said.
Oh, yeah. It's motivating. It really does tear down excuses, lights a fire under you.
But, and this is maybe a small critique, does it always give you, like, the practical step-by-step how-to?
That's a fair point. It does sometimes feel like it repeats the core message, be brave, act now in different ways without always providing, say, a daily exercise plan or super concrete tools.
Right. It can feel a bit like being told, just do it
Yeah.
20 times, which is inspiring, but maybe leaves you wanting a bit more of the, okay, but how do I do it tomorrow morning?
Yeah, that's a reasonable take. But even with that, even without maybe a super detailed roadmap,
The core message still stands up.
I think so. It's incredibly strong. It really encourages this fundamental shift in how you think about confidence itself. And that shift is the tool, in a way.
So the mindset change is the main takeaway, even if the daily practices aren't spelled out.
Pretty much. And ultimately, the book frames confidence in this really stark way. It's not some fluffy gift you either get or you don't.
It frames it as a weapon.
Yeah, a weapon,
Yeah.
something you have to learn to wield.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, you risk just watching other people, maybe people with half your actual talent, achieve things simply because they learned how to use their confidence.
That's a powerful, almost intimidating way to put it.
It is. But maybe necessary.
So just to kind of wrap up the main idea here, confidence, according to this source, it's a forged habit. It's a psychological strategy you deploy.
Right. It's not something you just passively wait to feel. It's something you actively, consistently build through action, no matter how small that action feels.
Okay. And that really leads us to the final sort of provocative thought the book leaves you with. A big question for you, the listener, to chew on.
Yeah, it boils down to this. Are you ready to finally shut off that internal narrator? The one constantly whispering, I can't.
Or are you going to keep letting that voice write your story for you?
It really puts the ball back in your court, doesn't it? How might you apply some of this? What's one small thing, maybe even today, you could do differently?
One small action to start transforming that relationship with self-doubt.
And begin forging the confidence you're actually capable of.